Hey, Nate. Hey, Andrew. Have I ever mentioned before that I love watching Eddie Rosario play baseball? Just wondering. I don't know if I brought that up ever.
Never.
You certainly have. I've seen you mention it a time or two before.
All right. It appears that the Minnesota Twins have won tonight over Cleveland, beating Zach Plesac, who had come into the game with an ERA of about 1.25. One night after they beat Shane Bieber, who lost his first game of the year. We want to welcome all of you in the comment who are watching live on either Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. Please feel free to use the comments section. We'll get your questions on here as soon as we can and talk through what is winning the first two games of this Cleveland series. With that, I'm going to intro our guest tonight, Nate Palmer. You've been on a little bit before. How do you do?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Doing great, thank you. And Andrew, I believe this is your first time on a Twins Daily Postgame Pint. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you enjoy writing about, and we'll give you the 30 seconds elevator talk here quick.
All right, appreciate it, Seth. Yeah, first time doing this. Really excited to be doing this. Ready to get going on. A little bit about myself. From San Francisco originally. Moved out here in 2018, started covering the Twins with Twins Daily in 2019. I mostly do a lot of the game recap stories and some other sort of one-off stories, exploring interesting questions. I talked about how can baseball help the healing process post-COVID and all the social unrest and things of that nature. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Gebo with 3 underscores. That's Gebo with 3 underscores.
Just slips off the tongue. All right, real quick, let's take a look at tonight's game here. Again, Minnesota winning 8-4. As you can see here, the Twins got off to the lead thanks to the Marwin Gonzalez home run. They later added to it with a Byron Buxton home run. Things definitely got interesting in the bullpen and late in the game, but like I said, Eddie Rosario, Miguel Sano getting work done at the end here and adding a couple extra runs of insurance, which obviously is a big deal as well. So, again, it's a big time of the year. The Twins are down to 13 games remaining as we're watching here tonight. Chicago, by the way, did win. They won 14-0 over Detroit. But I think the big news of the game, and we'll start with this, the Bomba squad showed up tonight. Nate, your thoughts on the 5 home run night for the Twins? They needed something like that.
That's exactly it. We've been kind of just lamenting the fact that this team hasn't shown up quite the same way as it had. I think we may even just be seeing the continued effect of kind of having all of the weapons at disposal. I mean, we don't have Garver back yet, but when you're able to go Polanco, Donaldson, and just go all the way down through, just seeing how much that helps things and gets everything going. I think, what was it, Polanco even walking right off of the bat in the game? It didn't materialize into anything, but I know John Bonas, he had tweeted out that it at least helped us get Plesac to 21 pitches in that first inning, and who knows if that might have helped just throw him off his game and his game plan a little bit, as we saw as we got deeper into the game, that they were really able to capitalize. Especially on that, and they're talking about it on the broadcast, the off-speed stuff. Just they start out praising him, and all of a sudden it's every extra base hit that the Twins were getting for a while there was one of those off-speed pitches from Plesac. So just good to see them nail another really good picture to the wall and get a win.
Andrew, this is kind of what we envisioned coming into the year. The home runs, the Bombas, they set the record for home runs in the season last year, and this year the White Sox are basically the only team on that type of a pace. But it's kind of fun to watch when this team is doing what they did tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it was nice to see the power surge come back again tonight. I host a podcast with our fellow Twins Daily writer, Cooper Carlson, and we talked about this last week just in terms of getting the guys like Donaldson and Buxton back in the lineup would certainly help the Twins offense significantly, and we're seeing that already. They didn't make any moves at the deadline, but it's essentially like you acquired a healthy Byron Buxton and a healthy Josh Donaldson. Those are 2 huge additions to the lineup, and it's been nice to see. Tonight's win was great, but last night beating Shane Bieber, the best pitcher in the American League, was even more impressive. And it's just nice to see the offense clicking again. And hopefully they can continue to do that with this upcoming series against the White Sox here starting early next week.
Yeah, I mean, I held a Postgame Pint podcast on Thursday night, the second of 2 straight off days, in which I was on with Gage from Everyone Hates Cleveland and Casey from Future Sox, talking about the AL Central. And I mean, we all talked about what we liked about each other's teams, why we think the other teams are good, not good, why they'll make the playoffs, why they won't make the playoffs. Before we get into your guys' big story of the game, or the key point of the game, I do again want to welcome those of you who have been watching on other platforms. If you're like me and you're on YouTube TV, it might be a couple minutes later. So the game is over, 8-4 win. Taylor Rogers got the final 3 outs. Rich Hill with 5 innings again tonight, 2 runs, and then the bullpen did its job between Whistler and Clippard and Duffy, and they bent but didn't break enough. But I want to remind you, whether you're on Facebook Live, whether you're on Twitter watching live and Periscope, or on YouTube, you can leave us a comment and we'll see those, and we will try to get those on here tonight. So with that, Andrew, I'm gonna let you lead off here with your kind of big story of the game.
For me, it's just what we just kind of touched on with the offense. A lot throughout the season so far, we've seen games where they might get out to an early lead and the offense, they go quiet, and then they end up losing the game because they give up runs late in the game. But tonight, the bats were able to stay consistent. They were able to put up runs throughout the entire game. They tacked on insurance runs there late, and I think that was huge. We haven't seen that a lot from this team, and it was nice to see that again tonight, and hopefully they can continue to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Let me get your thoughts on that, Nate. It has been a story. I think that, again, we expected a lot from this offense. Fair or not, one of the issues has been scoring early and then not scoring later. I think that's a very key point, Andrew. Nate, your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely been a frustration. And I don't know, I sometimes go back and forth and wonder, did we just get so spoiled last year with the ability to stretch it out and score inning after inning, at bat after bat? It just felt like they were always pouring it on. I guess on the flip side, we've been really grateful for some really good pitching. Which wasn't I mean, we thought that would continue to be the Achilles heel, and that's what's really carried the team through. I just was reflecting earlier today, I think it was, and thinking of how I had drooled over the Braves pitching for so long, and I've wanted to pillage their system. And now I look at 2020, I'm like, well, maybe it's okay we didn't do that. And I've written plenty of pieces trying to figure out trades to make that work. And but it's just been, I guess tonight is a little glimpse, though, of how at the end we can pour on just before it really counts to get Rogers in and close that game out.
Yeah, I think the added insurance there just made me feel better, and having a second run. Nate, what was your story of the night?
This might be a little obscure. I mean, the offense definitely ruled the day, but I just thought that Buxton's restraint on that Cesar Hernandez double to kind of pull up and not go all out. I think old Buxton we would have seen go flying Superman to the wall, because he probably really could have gotten to that ball if he let himself. But you could see that it looked like that must be something he's been working on. Now, as soon as that happened, we see, I think it was the next inning, he kind of misread that play and landed goofy into the wall and kind of hit his lower back there. But it just seemed like that exact thing they've been preaching for so long that they wanted to do just to conserve his body. And it seemed like even just the place in the game, if there was a place to let that ball just hit and him play it and see what he could get at second base, see if he could nab Hernandez there. It seemed like that growth area that the team's been looking for so long out of Buxton.
Yeah, I agree. Andrew, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on. I mean, the play on the when he crashed into the wall there in center field, he kind of got a little slow, some concern there, and you're like, oh boy, not again. We can't afford to lose you. But he got up and he continued to play, and it was nice to see that. And you had a good point there, Nate, on just playing a little bit smarter out there and understanding, what battles you can win and which ones to just kind of let it play up short and just play the hop. It's nice to see that development from him.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we've talked about it many, many times, and I don't have about a week ago, someone was on and pointed out that their record over the last 2 seasons with Buxton in the lineup was something ridiculous, like 83 and 30, or I'm making that number up, but it was something ridiculous like that. And it was about 500 when he's not in the lineup. So we've seen it all along. If he's in the lineup, this team is better. I know he's not walking, but frankly, when he gets first pitch fastball right down the middle, I'm good with him swinging the bat and hitting it hard. For me, I think here's my story, and I'm not saying it's the greatest of stories, but again, Rich Hill had that one inning that he looked like he was just. Could he get through it? Would he get through it? I think it was the fourth inning again tonight. But again, you look at the end result. And if you're going to get 5 innings from Rich Hill and he gives up 2 runs and he strikes out 7, we're going to take that every time. Now, I mean, yes, Jake Odorizzi very well might be back next week. As far as a playoff rotation, you're certainly not going to go with Rich Hill. But if he can give you 2 runs in 5 innings and strike out 7 and provide that type of veteranness, I know a lot of fans are kind of down on that right now. He threw a lot of pitches. But, again, who cares if he – goes only 5 innings? They have the bullpen, and it's been a good bullpen. So I think Rich Hill deserves some credit tonight as well. Andrew, your thoughts on the start tonight, and other thoughts on the rotation?
Yeah, regarding Rich Hill tonight, I was actually kind of surprised to see him go back out there for the 5th. What you had just touched on, he kind of struggled there a little bit in the 4th, and there was some concern of, do we get him out now? He was leaving the ball up, a lot of hard contact there in the 4th inning. But he was able to go back out there for the 5th, and he had a good start, and so that was nice to see there. As a whole, the rotation and just pitching in general has been a great surprise for this team. It's been really great to see Jose Barrios kind of right the ship a little bit and start to do what we expect Jose Barrios to do. Kenta Maeda, what he's done has just been incredible. I think he's surpassed every expectation anyone had for him. And it's just been really nice to see the pitching step up in the way it has and carry this team at times when the offense hasn't been there.
Nate, continue with your thoughts on that topic, especially as Jake Odorizzi, like I said, could be back as early as this week. That's probably only 2 starts, so it'll be really interesting to see how they bring him in. And with so many veterans on this team, I mean, Rocco Baldelli's going to have his work cut out for him trying to keep everybody happy. But I think at the same time, you got veterans. They understand the goal here. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was really interesting. I hadn't heard this before, but the Fox broadcast team brought up Baldelli's quote that said he just really wants his pitchers to get to 5 innings, that he wants them to go all out and get there. So really, Hill gave him exactly what he's asking off of that quote that they shared. I know as far as we go further into the season here, I've been banging that drum of why not piggyback Odo and Hill here, since they're both guys that seem to go on the shorter stints and do well that way. And Odorizzi his pitch count usually gets up high pretty quick. So especially when we think of playoffs, to have those 2 go back to back potentially could be something that I would be interested in seeing if that works. I've been banging that drum on Twitter for a couple of weeks now, that they just seem like that. If you're going to piggyback someone, they seem like a natural match to be that duo. Yeah,
definitely hard to disagree. Tonight, the Williams Astudillo was the catcher that started the game, and it's kind of like you take the good, you take the bad with him as well. He had the home run laser right after the home run from was it right after Buxton's home run, I believe, or Gonzalez, one of the 2. He hit the laser for a home
Buxton.
run, but you also
Gonzalez.
Just some terrible defense. We got a question here, and I'm going to bring this one in from Mike Link. Ryan Jeffers came in late in the game, and there definitely were some early struggles with him. He had to go out and talk to Clippard about pitch selection and sequencing and signs with a runner on second, and then there was a wild pitch there, and then he had a pretty bad pass ball as well later that gave the Cleveland team the 4th run to cut the lead to 1. So the question is, what happened to Jeffers? Is it just a matter of being cold when he came in, or was it the pitchers not communicating with him? And I'll let Nate answer this one first.
I guess I don't know what was going on in Jeffers' head, but it definitely looked like coming off the bench maybe didn't help him. And it just there was a lot of frustrating sequences, it seemed, and Astudillo clearly just kind of AJ was railing on him on that one ball that got underneath him where he couldn't really decide if he's going to try and flip his glove around or if he's trying to trap it or whatever he's trying to do. I guess I felt bad that it really made just the Twins' defensive adjustments at that position look really bad on the national spotlight. AJ really was tearing apart that one knee stance that has actually worked really well for so many of them. It was just kind of, it was out of all nights, this was the wrong night to have that on display. But it worked out as far as the team getting the win. But it's just frustrating. You don't want to be giving up that stuff that cheaply the way they were.
Yeah, Andrew, any follow-up to that? I don't think it's a big question because Jeffers' defense has been absolutely fantastic other than, I think, 2 plays. And, again, some of that may have been communication.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the decision there to bring in Jeffers late in the game as a defensive replacement for Asadio makes sense. It's no secret that Asadio just is not a very good defensive catcher. The balls that gets by him are balls that just should not be getting by a big league catcher. And I think that what happened with Jeffers tonight, it very well just may be a situation of lack of experience, being a rookie, not necessarily being in a situation in the big leagues where he's asked to come off the bench and be in a situation like that. And it's just something that you hope you can kind of learn from and grow from. And I think Ryan Jeffers is a phenomenal catcher and good things to come from him. And just whatever happened tonight, you let it go. We got the W and we move on.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything. I mean, he's done this role other times. I think Astudillo's got 1 or 2 other catching starts, and Jeffers has come in mid to late innings for them as well. So I don't think there's anything surprised. I don't think there's anything to make of it. And the news did come out that they're hoping to get Garver back here within the next week or so, and I think that would be big. I'm curious about Avila, or if the team might consider going with 3 catchers in the first round of the playoffs. So, I mean, I think they've got some tough decisions. One other bit of news, I guess, from this game was Brent Rooker getting hit by a pitch. And, again, he had a nice hit. He had a line drive double that and scored on a home run soon after that. Rooker's been playing well, but he got hit right in the kind of the wrist forearm area, and he was out with that. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Max Kepler being eligible to come off the injured list as early as tomorrow. You wonder if there might be a move made there anyway. That might just make the decision easier for Derek Falvey. But, again, you talk about Rooker, you talk about Jeffers. I think they're getting some good performances out of those young guys. All right, let's talk about the player of the game here. And I'm going to start, I believe we started with Andrew on the storyline of the game. So we'll start with Nate. Who would get your vote for the player of the game tonight?
I think I'm going to have to go with Marwin. Just he got it going. He kind of exposed maybe whatever the chink in the armor was for Plesac, was able to get that off-speed pitches they mentioned all the time. And we mentioned already here that those off-speed pitches were under 100 for a batting average. And he was just able to get it going, kind of seemed to get just that confidence flowing for the team, and was part of that bottom of the order that really propelled the team through the game. I think Phil Miller was saying this was one of the one of the first times since, I forget what year it was now. I should go look it up here. But that 7, 8, 9 spot had homered in a game, and the 8, 9 back to back. So, yeah, I'll go with Marwin on this one.
All right, and I want to welcome everyone in that you're watching it, whether it's on Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube. Leave comments in there about who your player of the game is for this game as well. Andrew, let's jump to you then. Who, if you can't take Marwin, who's your choice for the player of the game?
Marwin was going to be my guy. Some people may not like this in Twins territory, but I'm going to go with Eddie Rosario. The insurance runs he provided late with that home run really just kind of made you feel comfortable that we're going to get the win. If we go into the 9th with a 1-run lead, might be a different situation. So I'm going to just go Eddie for giving us that insurance run. I know he got picked off at first base. Plesac's got a great move that's going to happen. But that insurance run there late was huge. So Eddie's my guy.
All right, since y'all both stole the picks, well, actually, no, I was going to take Eddie. So I don't even know who I'm going to go with. Let's run back to we're going to run back to Fangraphs and just see what they tell us in terms of which player provided the most win probability added. So if we take a look at this, we look at the Twins, Eddie Rosario 0.087, Brent Rooker 0.065, Marwin Gonzalez 1.57, Byron Buxton 109. So, yeah, I think the winner by WPA would be Gonzalez. You took Eddie, Andrew. Look at the pitchers. Rich Hill, I think, definitely deserves it, but I already talked about him. Duffy gave a nice boost there. I'm going to go with Byron Buxton. And again, I feel almost guilty doing that. That's a little bit too simplistic, in my opinion. Obviously, the guy can flat out play defense and all that. But, I kind of almost feel guilty about that, because you look at the two of the runs that Cleveland scored. One was on that pass ball on Jeffers, and another one was on the Buxton ball that, again, it's one he catches like 99% of the time. So, I kind of feel bad about that. Let's see. I'm going to add this comment right here after I switch screens here. Justin Adkins brings up this comment. Eddie getting picked off before hitting a clutch home run is very Eddie thing to do. And I'll be honest, I mean, pickoffs are obviously not good, but they never really bother me. It's not like he was doing anything wrong. It's not like he was, sloughing off. He was paying attention. He just happened to be mid-step in one of his steps. And, obviously that throws your timing off. And I still don't know that he was out. I didn't see anything that would have made me overturn that. But, again, it is what it is. And it is part of, as people are starting to trademark and register, the Eddie Rosario experience. So, again, we kind of just take that. I want to go back a little bit, and I know, Andrew, you were going to be on the show last night, and I wanted your thoughts on the Friday night game. And to me, what a big win that was for the Twins. Byron Buxton again coming through with his home run. Ryan Jeffers with a home run off of Shane Bieber. Both of them over 110 miles per hour. But a great game because Bieber was really good. Kenta Maeda was really good too. So, I mean, that was such a big game, such a way to start the series. What were some of your initial thoughts as you were kind of prepping for that show, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I looked at that game last night. That's sort of like a statement win. You're going against the guy who's most likely going to be the AL Cy Young winner. He's been the best pitcher in baseball all year. And they touch him up. Well, don't touch him up, but they beat him. They beat the best pitcher in the American League against a division rival down the stretch here as we're sort of jockeying for postseason seeding. It was a huge win. But the effort from Kenta Maeda was phenomenal. Taylor Rogers gave up the run late, but overall it was a great win. It was a statement win, and it was just kind of the Minnesota Twins just saying, like, we are still the best team in American League Central. We just beat the best pitcher in our division and in our league. Overall, just a really, really great effort, really great win.
Absolutely. Nate, your thoughts on last night's wins? I don't know if you were able to watch it all or parts of it, but I mean, your general thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, the Jeffers home run was fun. I mean, that was just one of those ones that you just love to watch. The other thing is, I mean, do we miss Brusdar right now? Watching Maeda do what it really felt like one of those games where we were able to say, here's our ace, you bring your ace, let's see what happens. And it went the Twins' way last night. And to have them do that now, Bieber, Plesac, back to back, I mean, that's just a great thing to start off this series and really put them, to push the Indians down further. And now it's just looking at the White Sox, it feels like, for the division.
Yeah, and with the White Sox win today, Cleveland lost to Minnesota. I believe that the White Sox maintain a one-game lead over Minnesota, but now Cleveland falls back to 3.5 games back. It's going to be interesting, though, as I look at the standings right now, Minnesota would be in 4th place in a playoff structure. Toronto would be in 5th place, but they have about a half-game lead over the Yankees. So what's going to happen is the Twins are going to be second in the division, get that 4th seed, and take on the Yankees as the 5th seed, right? I mean, that's just how it's going to play out, right, Nate?
Probably. That sounds exactly where it would be.
Yeah. Andrew, do you disagree at all, or are we going to get some sort of optimism to build here?
We're going to get some optimism. One thing that I will say, too, I think the series that starts on Monday down in Chicago, that's going to be probably the biggest series they're going to play before we get to the postseason. It's a 4-game series on the road in Chicago. That's most likely going to decide the division. So yeah, that's going to be some good baseball next week.
No question. All right, we got some time here yet. If people have questions about these games with Cleveland tomorrow, injuries, playoffs, prospects, whatever you'd like, feel free to ask them, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. and we'll dive into whatever you ask here over the next few minutes. But again, I kind of have to agree with the William Mueller comment here from Facebook Live tonight, and we're going to post that here. Nice Twins win. Let's go for the sweep. Why not? I don't anticipate the Twins will put out a getaway day lineup. I really don't. Like we said earlier, Max Kepler could be back in the lineup on Sunday, and everyone's back. Everyone's healthy. Now, I'm not saying Rocco should go out and just play everybody. It might be a good day to get Buxton off and see how his lower back feels tomorrow morning, of course, with an afternoon game. But I don't sense. I would guess that Donaldson will be in the lineup. Cruz will be in the lineup. Polanco, Sano, I would expect a regular lineup. What are you expecting tomorrow, Andrew?
Kind of right there with you, Seth. I expect to see a full lineup. I don't think we're really in a position now where we can kind of have those getaway day lineups. This is a game that they don't need to win, but it'd be very nice to win. And so just put your squad out there. If Kepler does come off the IL tomorrow, that kind of gives them some options there if they want to sit Buxton. But overall, yeah, we'll see the full squad, and hopefully we can get the sweep and then head on down to Chicago for that pivotal series.
Yeah, Andrew, as you look to that Chicago series, I believe we have pitching matchups already for at least 3 of the 4 games, and I'll get those here just in a second. But what are some of your thoughts about that Chicago series in Chicago?
Like I mentioned earlier, I think it's going to be a huge series. It's going to be very pivotal. So beside the division, you got 2 really good teams going up against each other. It's nice that right now going into it, the Twins' offense is hot. They're hitting the ball well. I think they match up well with Chicago in that regards, and I think the Twins have a good chance. Obviously, you want to win that series and just go ahead in the division.
All right, real quick, I'm going to read off the next few pitching matchups according to the probables, obviously subject to change for anything. But on Sunday, the Twins will send Michael Pineda, who's been absolutely fantastic, to go against rookie flamethrower Tristan McKenzie, who's been fantastic for Cleveland. And I think 4 starts. He's got 3-0 record with a 2.57 ERA and well more than a strikeout per inning. Then for the 4 games at Chicago, it'll start with Jose Barrios against Dylan Cease. And then in game 2, which would be Tuesday, will be Randy Dobnak against Dane Dunning, and what should be a pretty good pitching matchup. On Wednesday, Twins have not yet announced a starter, and maybe that's Jake Odorizzi, maybe it's someone depending on how things go there against Lucas Giolito. So that'll be a tough matchup. And then in the 4th game, the final game of that series on Thursday, it'll be Kenta Maeda against to be determined. So it should be some really good games. And again, the Twins bats are kind of starting to show up here. We've seen that over the last couple of, or at least the last week, I would say. Going against a Chicago lineup that, again, scored 14 tonight and is the best offense in baseball. So should be a lot of fun. I guess final thoughts, whether it's whatever it happens to be about this game, this series, the upcoming series, the season, the playoffs, a player. Andrew, go ahead.
I guess some thoughts, if you will. Just I forget who it was. They put out an article recently on Twins Daily about September baseball. And one thing that's just kind of, for me, I guess in a way unfortunate, is with the expanded playoffs and so many teams being involved in it, the high intensity that you typically see down the stretch in September isn't there. The Twins and basically every team in the American League, the seeding's already kind of set. So you don't have some of that intensity. You have a little bit of it in the National League. But I kind of miss that aspect right now of September baseball, these tight division races down the stretch. But, with the truncated season we have in 2020, I understand why we have the postseason structure that we have.
All right, we'll jump over to Nate. Your final thoughts on tonight's game, or whatever you choose to discuss.
We'll just have to hope for March Madness feeling when we get in here, Andrew. That's what we'll hope for. I gotta
exactly.
say, the one thing as you were reading off those pictures is, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I was actually almost mildly excited about this signing in the offseason. We don't have to face Keuchel again. And I thought going in throughout the offseason, I thought how perfect. Chicago's going to get two lefties since they had Geo coming in too, and we'll just be able to mash on them. But since that just hasn't came to light, I'm okay not seeing Keuchel again. Even though they got the win the last time against them, they just haven't fared very well that way. I guess my last thing for the night is, if everyone didn't see, I feel like this is something to celebrate. Mr. Vargas went over to the Cubs and decided to mash a homer off of Josh Hader. So anytime being in Wisconsin, anytime Josh Hader gets kind of put in his place, I'm okay with that, because I don't have to listen to all those Brewers fans talk about that for the night or for the day. So Mr. Vargas coming up big.
I enjoyed that as well. I also enjoyed that you chose not to try to pronounce Ildemaro, because anytime you can get Ildemaro into the conversation, you got to do it, right?
I wasn't even going to try.
Yeah. Well, my thoughts is, you know what? I think everyone kind of has been disappointed in some ways with how Rocco Baldelli or the front office or whoever it is has been overly patient throughout this season. The short season that it was and is, in terms of bringing guys back from injury and taking so much time, and even putting Luis Ariz on the IL before Friday's game is kind of an interesting choice. But at the same time, I mean, the whole purpose of doing all that is for what's happening right now. You know, the 2 games that they've beaten Cleveland already, Sunday's game, the 4-game series in Chicago, and then down the stretch in the playoffs. So, you know, hopefully that's all been worthwhile, giving everyone extra rest, making sure the bullpen guys aren't overused, the starters didn't get rushed too much. This is what it's all about. And you know, they had the 7 games coming up against Cleveland and Chicago, the 2 teams that at the time at the start of this series were either tied or you're right with them. And you know, they started out 2-0. It'd be really nice to get that win tomorrow and give Tristan McKenzie a tough spot. You know, hopefully they can give him a rough outing and then go into Chicago and see what happens. It's going to be such a fun series. And like Andrew said, it's unfortunate almost in some ways that it has lost some of its luster, because they're all going to make the playoffs. The 8 teams are pretty well set in the American League, so that takes some of it away. But you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens and how the Twins come out and what the lineups look like and who's getting days off. And you know, but you know, even when Kepler comes back, you expect that they're not just going to throw him in there every day, and they have to continue to look big picture as well. With that, one last question. John Landis on Facebook asked the following question. Did they have an extra guy up tonight for Romo's spot? And those that missed that, if you missed the end of the Cleveland Twins game on Friday night, Sergio Romo and Francisco Lindor got into a bit of a heated match that brought the bullpens in and the dugouts emptied, but not much happened from it. But Sergio Romo did get suspended the 1 game. Which of course meant nothing other than he doesn't get paid for today, because he probably wouldn't have pitched tonight anyway. Lindor got suspended, or not suspended, he got fined, which I'm guessing would be about the equivalent of what, you know, a game or even a little bit less, because I don't know that he really did anything. So, but no, when a player gets suspended, you don't get an extra roster or someone to fill that roster spot, I don't believe. So, no, they didn't get an extra player around. So I think the last thing I'll bring up is it'll be interesting, along with, you know, just the 4-game series in Chicago. I think they play 3 more right after that against the Cubs, is who they choose to put on the taxi squad, because they can have up to 5 players, and that'll be interesting. You got to assume Thorpe and Smeltzer and Poppin, and you know, maybe a Wade if he gets sent down, or Rooker if he isn't put on the IL and gets sent down there. I would think they'll figure it out, and maybe Tomas Talise will be on that roster unless Garber is. So it'll be interesting. With that, I'm going to call this a show. I want to thank both Andrew and Nate for joining on tonight. I really do appreciate it. I think I'd like to also thank everyone who's listened, whether it's on Facebook Live, Twitter, Periscope, or YouTube. You can obviously watch this later on any of those sites as well as the Twins Daily Podcast, which you can find wherever you download your podcast from. Again, the Twins win.
Hey, Seth.
Yeah.
Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Dan Hayes put out an important tweet here. Brent Rooker suffered a fractured forearm. His season's over.
That's not good. That hurts.
Ecstatic. That hurt. Let's spend a minute. And again, I won't repeat everything I just said about watching this later or downloading it later, but that is big news. My assumption is that Kepler will take his roster spot. The difference, I think, and maybe you guys please feel free to add to this, is that instead of probably optioning Lamont Wade, they'll just put Rooker on the injured list, which means that Wade and Cave will remain the 4th and 5th outfielders, which again puts them in a situation where they're both left-handed and that kind of thing. So, but ultimately, I think the big story is you just feel terrible for Rooker because he's come up and he's played long and he's done well. He's put together great at bats. So on a personal level, man, I feel bad for the guy. So Nate, you brought up the news. What would you add to that?
I mean, I think that's just it. You feel awful for Rooker. He's doing great. He's fun to watch. Maybe you just say the Twins should have gotten Kevin Pillar. I mean, that's maybe all that's left. I just had to throw that back in there. But it does bring up that issue that he was becoming that right-handed bat in the outfield that the team really could use in some big spots. So but ultimately just awful that this is kind of how his first taste of Major League Baseball ends for 2020.
Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Brent Rooker has been really good since he's been called up. I look forward to his at bats every time. The kid, puts together great at bats. He hits the ball hard. He's been a lot of fun to watch, and it's just unfortunate to see this happen to him. But I think the Twins have the depth to overcome it and continue to push forward. Injuries and things like this are part of baseball. It's unfortunate it happens to a guy like Brent Rooker, but just got to keep moving forward.
Well, and I think another thing along with that, which again, to me, it just stinks to see that happen to really a good guy and obviously a good ball player too. But sorry
to cut you off there, Seth. We actually just had a good question from John Landis on Facebook again. He asked, what about now signing a guy like Yasiel Puig? What are your thoughts on that?
Any interest in that? Either of you have any interest in Yasiel Puig coming in on this roster right now? Nate?
No. If I do, it's more just Seth, as you said, he is kind of fun to watch, but I kind of like watching him when he's on the other team and not necessarily on the Twins, because every once in a while, I mean, he's had moments, but usually they're more boneheaded and frustrating than anything.
Yeah, no thanks for me as far as Yasiel Puig goes. I mean, could a team do that? Yes. I don't think that player, and I'm pretty sure that player couldn't be on a postseason roster anyway, so I think it's more important anyway now to get other guys at bats. I would say this, Marwin Gonzalez had the home run, and he had the single that should have been a stand-up double, but he got thrown. But either way, he was hitting the ball well, and hopefully that can be I don't know, like an instigation for him to get going, because now he might be that right-handed backup outfielder option with maybe A-Ray Adrianza getting time at second base with Luis Ariz out for right now. So, all right, with that, again, I'm not going to tell y'all where to check this out. Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, the Twins Daily Podcast, wherever you happen to download your podcasts. Thank you all. We'll be back, by the way, tomorrow. I'll be hosting the podcast right away, I believe at 4 o'clock or as soon as that game finishes. I know Matthew Trueblood will be on with me, and hopefully we'll be talking about a Twins sweep. So with that, thank you all. Thanks for listening. Y'all have a great night. We'll talk soon, and go Twins.
Go Twins. Have a good night.